Hey guys, Dale Walker at Whole Shot again. This is part 2 of my old 8991 Pro Street bike restoration. I was able to get the motor pulled down, so I just wanted to show you the internal components and things. Here's the bike in 94, 95 when it was a 9-inch tire Pro Mod. Kind of reflections going on here. Anyway, let's go walk over to the excuse me, wall of shame here, and very slowly go down to where I think that thing is. Sorry, I'm choking to death. Oh yeah, here's pen art of Sandy Cosman's Suzuki I rode before my bike was built. And there's the bike at Fremont. God dang it, the lights, shadows are on there. Here is my bike I'm working on now, when it was a Kawasaki Turbo. It's at the beginning of its life. And this is when it rolled out of the trailer in Phoenix, unpainted. 5 weeks later, after a race, they banned my turbo due to politics. 5 weeks it rolled out and it was a Suzuki. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, enough of that. Go over to the bike. I'll show you the pile of parts. Yeah, another thing, I got the, I don't know if I talked about this, but yeah, I found a Daytona damper. Luckily, they still make one the exact right length. Has to be real short to clear the fairing up there. So got that on. I remember I showed you the picture of the old Cosman triples. A pretty trick. The handlebars mounted forward, so your weight's up there. Nice new bottle pressure gauge. Well, I got the engine. I worked on it a couple days, taking my time, almost like a refresher course. The last time I had this motor together was in 2002 when I put this thing together with the billet 5-speed. So here is all the clutch components. 2 shift forks, 4th gear shift forks modified, goes with the 5-speed. Extended oil pickup that they used to make for the Pro Stalkers. You can run a stock pan. I just milled all the fins off to give it more ground clearance. Vance and Hines full billet clutch hub with the straight cut gear. A heavy duty backing plate with bigger rivets that have been heliarc welded up, and real heavy duty springs. These are pretty much bulletproof. MRE lockup clutch, the old style they used to make. I have these pretty dialed in. I use a whole selection of springs. I stagger a soft and a heavy, soft and a heavy, and that is your initial bite when you start, let out the clutch. And then of course you have your lockup weights. I don't run too much weight, doesn't take that much. And these of course travel out under RPM. And the weights is what determines what RPM they fully lock in and push the basket together, compressing all the plates. These are an experimental Kevlar plate that I worked with Barnett. They're much thinner, and I could run about 4 more plates and get more stack height. They seem to work pretty good. There's the outer hat that the weights push against. You can see the indentation where they push. Here's part of the top end oiling kit, Ward Performance, that I have on the motor over here, like you see on a lot of them, like the one I make with the braided lines for the Bandit. And that's about it. Yeah, this old GSs have a roller bearing in the center that drops out after you take the big nut off, and then it allows you to drop this down on the shaft, the input shaft, to clear the case to get it out of the motor. A lot of parts and little pieces. Here's your oil pump, windage trays. This is where your shift drum goes. It's a roller bearing on one end. And then, oh, look at that. God, there's so much oil. When you take one of these motors apart, the whole thing's full, and no matter how much you drain it, it dumps everywhere. You notice there's the green oil. Yep. Used to use Kendall, straight 40 weight racing oil. It's what my trannies live the best. So this is a full Falicon racing crank. It's lightened, it's balanced, it's got Falicon rods, it's got much larger pins where they press together, and then of course they're welded up so they won't twist between the journals. Fairly pricey piece. This motor has only been fired 3 or 4 times. I don't know if you can see in there. I got a flashlight. See the crosshatch still in it? Pretty cool. This is about a 13.5 to 1 compression, 1428 cc engine. It's, if you look real close, you can even see where the piston skirt on bottom dead center even comes out of the sleeve just a hair. Getting every bit of that. Okay, then over to the tranny. Excuse me. This is the full 5-speed billet that I took out of that was basically new, because I was still going to race in Pro Mod in the Kendall bike with the 10-inch tire, and I was going to lean on it and, you know, running the 6s with the thing, and I never ran it. All the drag strips out here on the West Coast, a lot of them closed, and there's still a few, but they have no real bike racing per se like we used to have. But yeah, I'm going to sell this one complete as a brand new setup for somebody. This is pretty much what these, I don't know if they're still using it currently in Pro Stockers, but this is basically a heavy duty, full auto, no kill between shifts, Pro Stock transmission. Gears are much beefier. For example, one in my hand here is like, probably a 3rd gear. So look at the teeth difference. Not the size, it's not the right gear, but I'm just saying, look at the difference compared to the billet. Of course, this is a $2,700 transmission. Yowza. Okay, so then this is the stock tranny that I sent to Paul Gast that I'm putting in the motor in the current engine I'm going to run now. And so this has a billet 2nd and 3rd gear. All the other gears are back cut. The shafts are polished, so they slide better. It's all shimmed up and everything. Heavy duty bearings versus the stock bearings. And this is a stock output shaft, and this is a billet heavy duty output shaft. So it has billet 2nd and 3rd, undercut, all the gears back cut, heavy duty bearings, and billet output shaft, and that should be fairly bulletproof. And like I say, with an automatic over there, you can't back off of it fully, close the throttle till high gear, and sometimes at high RPM with the lock-up clutch you can't pull the clutch lever in, and if you back off of it, it can bind up the tranny and actually break your engine case. So I'm going with the full kill. Like I say, this is just for fun. It should be reliable like I used to run. Maybe a tenth slower than an auto, because you still have the little interruption between each gears, but I don't care. That's what it's going to be. I got a Cherry stock shift drum I found. I'll probably clean this one up and use it. I have a whole selection of really nice shift forks out of a couple motors. I got plenty of parts. I got to order 4th gear, which is this one, because on the auto there's a little shoe that is welded on it to operate with the 5-speed drum. It's a totally different deal. So I have to order a bunch of little bits and pieces, but getting there. So yeah, I'll be putting my list together and getting all that stuff on order. And next I'll be working more on the bike and the chassis while stuff's waiting a little bit. But that's pretty much an update for this minute and video number 2. So keep rolling along. Maybe subscribe to the channel so you can keep an eye on the little updates in this fun project. All right, well, take care and have a good Sunday. Later.